Over the weekend, a lot of really good stuff happened. The big things that I think we should talk about today are Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem were confirmed by the Senate. And since the story we're talking about today is about the military, we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth. So first off, let's talk about the fact that Pete Hegseth was confirmed by a very slim majority. Because here's the thing, right? Here's what's wild. Kristi Noem and everyone else, all the others that have been confirmed so far, have been confirmed by a bipartisanship. At least a few Democrat senators have said, yeah, those people are okay. In the case of Marco Rubio, he got 99 votes in the Senate. Only one person said no. So that's wild, right? Well, Pete Hegseth, he only got 50 Republican votes and no Democrat votes. Three Republican senators said no. That's to say that Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Turtle Man himself, Mitch McConnell, said, no, we don't like him. We don't want him. And so J.D. Vance had to come in and be the tie-breaking vote, which is the same thing we saw last time when Trump was president, that the Democrats refused to confirm anyone that Trump has in office or that Trump wants. And so we have a tiebreaker, who is, of course, the vice president. But regardless of the fact that the Rhinos did not win, we got Pete Hegseth, and good things are happening, man. He's a cool dude. I think he's going to be a really good defense secretary, and the military will be better for it. Now, one thing that he wants to do, and Trump especially wants to do, is a couple things really. First off, to end DEI in the military. Second off, to reinstate everyone who refused to take the COVID shot and was discharged because of that. And third off, to remove transgender individuals from the military. And there's reasons given for all that, which I think are pretty good reasons. In terms of DEI and the transgender debate, it's not so much that we care about, whether or not those people are in the military. It's more so that they're hard to deal with. It's just something where, with transgender people, there's a lot of medical care that goes into being transgender. You have to always take your hormones every day. If you're a man becoming a woman, there's a whole lot of medical procedures that you need to take care of each day to make sure that certain holes don't close up. It's a whole thing, right? Where, it's just a lot, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for a fighting force to be worried about someone who has constant medical care. Now, you might say, well, what about the diabetics? What about this, that, and the other? That's a different story entirely, and I'm honestly surprised if they allow diabetics into the military. I don't believe they do, because for the longest time, they wouldn't allow anyone with ADHD or anything like that in the military, which is absolutely wild to me. But regardless, I think that getting rid of DEI is important, because here's the thing, right? I've got no problem at all with women in the military, right? And Hegseth was saying that he doesn't want women in combat roles. Here's the thing. I'm totally fine with women in combat roles if they can pass the test. Not the test that they give the women. No. None of that. The test they give the men. And I've said this before. I think that everything involved with military, first responders, whatever, it should all be merit-based. There should not be a separate test for women. You will pass the same test or you will not be in that role. It is that simple. It is merit-based. If you can pass that test, fantastic. Welcome to the military, right? If you can't pass that test, sorry, you don't get to do this job because you're not physically capable of doing it. And I'm sorry if that upsets women. I'm sorry if it makes them feel like I'm sexist or whatever, because I think they should have to pass the same test men do to make sure they're not a liability on the battlefield, to make sure they're capable of doing their job. Well, sorry, I guess that is what it is, because that's the correct answer. Now, I think Hegseth wants to just eliminate women from combat positions altogether. I don't think that's right either. Just, 99% of them, because most women cannot pass the male exam. I can't pass it either, but what am I saying, Most women can't pass that exam, and because of that, they shouldn't be in combat roles, and neither should I, like I said. But regardless, let's get into this from Reuters. Trump to take aim at DEI, COVID expulsions, and military, Hegseth says. U.S. President Donald Trump will soon sign executive orders removing diversity, equity, and inclusion from the military, reinstating thousands of troops who were kicked out for refusing COVID-19 vaccines during the pandemic, and building an air defense system for the United States, which we should have already fucking had. That's wild that we didn't. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Monday. Hegseth, who narrowly secured enough votes to become the defense secretary, reverted to the names of Confederate generals that were once used for 2 key bases during his remarks to reporters as he entered the Pentagon on his first full day on the job, which is wild that Reuters has decided that this is important enough to talk about, because he called them, instead of Fort Liberty and Fort whatever the hell it's called now, he called them Fort Benning and Fort Bragg, because that was their name for ever, right? Ever since the forts existed, that was their name. And then Biden changed it to Fort Liberty and Fort something else. What was the other one? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. What was the other one? Where are we at? Either way, Hegseth has promised to bring major changes to the Pentagon as they made eliminating DEI from the military top priority. They have more executive orders coming. Hegseth told reporters the Air Force said on Sunday that it will resume instruction of trainees using a video about the first black airman in the U.S. military, known as the Tuskegee Airmen, which is passed review to ensure compliance with Trump's ban on DEI initiatives. Which, to be fair, the Tuskegee Airmen is a tragic story. If you don't know about it, look it up. It is just another story of why you should hate the government. Once again, Hegseth was warmly greeted on the steps of the Pentagon by top U.S. military officer Air Force General C.Q. Brown, whom Hegseth criticized in his latest book. Asked if he might fire Brown, Hegseth joked that he was standing right next to him. "I'm standing with him right now. I look forward to working with him," as he patted Brown on the back. Reuters has previously reported about the possibility of mass firings among top brass, something Hegseth repeatedly refused to rule out during his confirmation process. Which, good. Fire them. They're trash. They suck. Because they literally last time refused to tell Trump the truth. They lied to the president, the commander-in-chief, their boss, about what was going down. They should be fired for that. It's wild that they haven't been. Hegseth returned to Fort Moore. That's what it's called. Fort Moore and Fort Liberty. Referred to Fort Moore and Fort Liberty by their previous names, Fort Benning and Fort Bragg, while speaking with reporters. Can we just talk about how weird the structure of this article is? Like, they mentioned it passing up at the top, and now they come back to it. It's wild. But also, why do we give a fuck if it's called Fort Moore and Fort Liberty or Fort Benning and Fort Bragg? Just leave the name alone. They had been changed under former President Joe Biden as part of an effort to rechristen bases named for Confederate officers. Who cares? It's ridiculous that people care about that. The same thing with pulling down Confederate statues and whatnot. These people matter. If you forget your history, you will repeat it. That's literally, there's a quote for a reason, because we've done it in the past. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Don't eliminate history. Don't erase history, because you will do it again. And I'm going to go totally off topic here. My apologies, but I'm going to anyway. That's something we see in all communist utopias. They always rewrite history. They remove the history. They destroy the history. They destroy the culture. And then who'd have thunk it? They repeat the damn history. Because turns out when you forget, you repeat. It's not difficult, but these people are ridiculous. Anyway, I'm thinking about the guys and gals in Guam, Germany, Fort Benning, and Fort Bragg. Hegseth said much of Hegseth's focus at the Pentagon could be internal to the military, on everything from bringing back troops discharged for refusing COVID vaccines to once again banning transgender people from serving in the military. Ooh, so sorry. Our job is lethality and readiness and warfighting, and we're going to hold people accountable, Hegseth said. Thousands of service members were removed from the military after the Pentagon made the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory in 2021. A U.S. official said another executive order signed on Monday would be related to transgender troops. During his first term, Trump announced that he would ban transgender troops from serving in the military. He did not fully follow through with that ban. His administration froze the recruitment while allowing serving personnel to remain. Biden overturned the decision when he took office in 2021, because apparently it's so important to make sure that we have diversity in our military. Because the people who fight wars, the people who defend this country, they have to be representative of the people. Because God forbid that we have people who are effective. God forbid that we have people who are capable of killing. Instead, we should just have whoever. It's whatever, right? Because that's just how it goes, apparently. It's wild to me that they care about diversity in who gets to kill people. It's wild. Asked if there would be exceptions for currently serving transgender troops, Hegseth said there would be an executive order on that, but did not provide details. Why would there be? About 1.3 million active personnel serve in the military, the Department of Defense data shows. While transgender rights advocates say there are as many as 15,000 transgender service members, officials say that number is in the low thousands. When Trump announced his first ban in 2017, he said the military needs to focus on decisive and overwhelming victory without being burdened by the tremendous medical costs and disruption of having transgender personnel. That's what I'm kind of thinking too. It's like, you can be transgender all you want. That's fine. Do whatever you want, right? But in the military, first off, taxpayers are paying for it, so already problem numero uno. Number two is the fact that you have to take this medicine every single day to maintain the correct amount of hormones in your body. And that is problem numero dos, because they literally, for the longest time, have refused to accept anyone with medical conditions beyond like eyeglasses and whatnot because of the fact that they would be a liability. So why are we accepting these people who need medicine to maintain their gender when they wouldn't accept ADHD people until recently? I don't know, man. It's kind of wild to me. Transgender woman serving in a federal prison has filed a lawsuit arguing that Trump's executive order directing the U.S. government to recognize only two unchangeable sexes and requiring inmates like her to be housed in men's prisons violates the U.S. Constitution and federal law. First off, screw off. No, it doesn't. Second off, this article is all over the place, man. They were just talking about military, and then in the next paragraph, they're talking about that. It's wild, man. This whoever wrote this needs to figure out how to write an article, man. Missile defense for U.S. Hegseth said Trump would also sign an executive order to put in place the Iron Dome for the United States. Why did we not already have this? The short-range Iron Dome air defense system was built by Israel's Rafael Advanced Defense Systems with U.S. backing and was built to intercept rockets fired by the Palestinian Islamist movement Hamas in Gaza towards Israel. Each truck-towed unit fires radar-guided missiles to blow up short-range threats such as rockets, mortars, and drones in midair. The system determines whether a rocket is on course to hit a populated area. If not, the rocket is ignored and allowed to land harmlessly. Any such effort would take years to implement in the United States. Doubtful, because here's the fun part about the U.S. military, is that we are so phenomenal at logistics. In 72 hours, there will be a Burger King in whatever nation we are invading. Like, I highly doubt it will take years. It will probably take months, if that. But also, why did we not already have something like this? I mean, I know we have missile defense systems, but why did we not already have an Iron Dome? Like, that seems like a big failing, seeing as how, ICBMs exist and a nation from across the world doesn't have to leave their door, doesn't have to leave bed to launch a freaking missile at us. One would assume that we would be able to solve that problem because they have MIRVs, right? Multiple something reentry vehicles, whatever. Anyway, no, that's what it is. Multiple independently targeting reentry vehicles, right? Where they will have a missile that will launch up, and it will launch out like 20 smaller missiles. And they will all seek their specific targets, right? Why do we not have a defense against that? I bet money we do, but the fact that they're saying that they want to build an Iron Dome means it's not very good if we do. So I don't know, man. That's a big shortcoming there that we should have had figured out. But anyway, man, talking about this whole thing, transgenders in the military, DEI in the military. Like I said, man, it makes no sense to care about diversity in a fighting force. These are people meant to protect our country. These are people meant to secure American interests. Why do we care about their race, their religion, their gender, whatever? All we should care about is the fact that they're capable of doing their job and they're capable of doing it effectively. Man or woman, transgender or not, black or white, whatever race, doesn't matter. Who cares? Just make sure these people are capable of doing their job, and that is all that matters. It is simple. Like, people put so much effort into making everything DEI and everything diverse and everything this, that, and the other. It's like, why does that matter? Just make sure they're capable of doing their job, and it's fine. Who cares what gender or race or anything? It's wild, man. The left makes all this so difficult when it doesn't need to be, because we should go back to a merit-based society, because that's what works. Either way, guys, that's all I'm going to say about this. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Next segment's coming up later today. We'll see you then.